We begin today's program out in Oregon. We're pleased to be joined by Earl Blumenauer, Democratic congressman from the great state of Oregon. And Congressman, I want to start with the budget. The Ryan budget approved right before Congress left town for 2 weeks. We're about halfway through. What's your sense, talking to people in Oregon, talking to your colleagues, about how it's gone over so far?
Well, there was a reason that Republicans were not encouraged to embrace Paul's vision before the election. And it's proving to be the case. We're finding that people just do not understand why there needs to be another round of tax cuts if the deficit is exploding. And they are realizing that 230 million Americans would be denied security for health care in their old age. They would have to rely on the tender mercies of health insurance companies who would rush to insure the oldest, sickest Americans with a voucher of declining value. And I'm just finding that even amongst people in the business community, people who are have concerns deeply about the budget, are looking at this and shaking their heads.
Congressman, let's look at something that you've talked about when it comes to budget priorities. You have advocated for cutting the tax breaks for oil and gas industry. But take a look at that for a moment. Obviously, we have really high gas prices right now. A lot of folks wondering why we pay so much at the pump. But there's no indication that getting rid of the subsidies is going to make things any cheaper. And also answer this, we seem to have this debate every year when gas prices get high. Why do we have these subsidies for oil and gas companies, and then they stay in the budget every year?
Right. Absolutely. Well, they stay in the budget because the oil and gas interests are very powerful. But as George Bush said himself when the oil prices hit $50 a barrel, that oil companies didn't need any incentives to explore and produce. And with these astronomical prices for oil now, and it's part of a great big world market. So our $8 billion a year that is handed to the oil and interests does not affect a $2 trillion global price for oil. What it does is it just goes to the bottom line, and you see those profits are at record highs. We should be using that money to either reduce the deficit or to help develop alternative sources of energy that will be in America, that will not contribute to greenhouse gases and will improve efficiency in the long run. I mean, there's a win-win here, and most people understand it.
But when you dig into these subsidies, a lot of them are subsidies that are available to all companies. They're tax credits that are available to all companies. Can you actually single out oil and gas companies and say, no, this is available to anyone else that makes any kind of widget in the world, but not to someone that explores for oil and gas?
No. I mean, there were some that were given to the oil company when we had that great big tax cut for a number of manufacturing interests, and they redefined the definition to include oil and gas. But no, the ones that I have put in my legislation are specific to oil and gas and the big five. That costs the American taxpayer $8 billion alone.
Just to cut to the bottom of this debate, for the answer that so many people have at the pumps right now, what can Congress do? What can the White House do? What can be done right now about gas prices?
Well, the fact is there isn't anything that's going to change that tomorrow. I mean, you could drain America dry of its oil. We only have 2% of the world's supply. We consume over 20% of it, and that's not going to happen overnight. The things that will make a difference is giving American families more choices about how they move, improving efficiency, transit, walking, land use, and to wean our dependency on 10% of the world's oil supply to go back and forth to work every day. That's nuts. And as long as we are hooked on oil in that way, we're always going to be on this yo-yo. We need to change our patterns, and we can do that. In my community, we drive 20% less than the national average, and the average family has $2,500 a year more to spend, and that's before those big spikes.
I know, I'm still amazed that you guys bike as much as you do in the rain. I got to say, I can't do it myself. I'm very wimpy about that. All right, but let's talk about something that's also
come on out. We'll show you. It's not that hard.
All right. I'll try it. I got some Gore-Tex. All right. The next question, though, is the debt ceiling. That's what's coming up right around the corner. Republicans now saying they want something really meaningful. They're talking about things like immediate hard caps on discretionary spending, cuts to Medicaid spending to be attached to this. Are these something that you could vote for if a debt ceiling vote comes up and you have to vote for some of these things?
That's dangerous in two respects. One, they are trying to do things that they couldn't actually get through the legislative process. And I think that is dangerous. We shouldn't capture hostages in the legislative process. But more fundamentally, one of the things that really shouldn't be caught up in this ideological struggle is raising the debt ceiling. America pays its bills. We will raise the debt ceiling. But if the people who are giving billions of dollars in loans to America think that they're going to be caught up in this political game, if they raise the interest rate only 1%, that will cost us $600 million a day in higher costs. Over 50 of us have signed a letter telling Speaker Boehner we will vote for an increase in the debt ceiling that's clean, so you're not held hostage to the ideological extremes in your party, and we can do this like grown-ups.
Right, but we recognize, though, that it's unlikely that there's going to be a clean debt ceiling vote. So are you willing to vote against raising the debt ceiling if it includes some of these cuts?
Well, I just don't agree with that. I think there are enough people in the Republican caucus, and if we provide votes so they're not held hostage to the extreme, there's no reason that we can't have a clean debt ceiling vote, and then we can battle this out. We've got the budget that's going to be here. We're going to be dealing with this all the next 20 months. We don't need to screw up the debt ceiling.
All right, Congressman Earl Blumenauer, Democrat from Oregon. We'll take you up on that biking offer sooner rather than later. Really appreciate you being here. Thank you, sir.